miracle healing stories I want to share with you today to help all of us understand that disease and illness don't just happen, that our body breaks down from high stress, unhappiness, different events that have happened to us, maybe currently or in the past, and we just have never learned how to release them or to understand them. So that's what I'm here for today. I'm Georgie Holbrook. I'm a holistic health educator. Holistic means I look at the whole person. I look at everything that's going on. So many times I get hired to really solve complex health issues, tracing them back to the original cause, and then they can go back to the nothingness they came from. So I'm going to tell you a piece of my story. Many of you have read my books, heard my story, but here it goes. Allergies was my first sign. I was 36 years old, working in the corporate world, hardly ever got sick. Brilliant at what I was doing, but I knew nothing about my body. My body was expected to be like a piece of equipment, that it never broke down, but then it did. And I had no understanding of how to give to myself or understand my own immune system, which is a pretty sad state for many of us that just take our bodies for granted, thinking it will never happen to us. And then it does, right? So here's the story. Allergies. My husband decides he wants a 4-year degree at the university, but he wants to do it in 2 years. And because I have this corporate background, surely I can work and pay for his expenses, his 2 children's child support, and our household expenses. And when we get to the university, there is no corporate jobs. And I had already committed and all the papers were signed. And immediately I was overwhelmed. But back then I had no voice to share that I had agreed to do something that was next to impossible. And so I got allergies. I sneezed and I sneezed. That first 24 hours of getting at the university, I sneezed until I was aching in my ribs. And then I went to an allergy doctor. Now, if the allergy doctor had been trained the way I am today, that allergy doctor would have said something like this: Georgie, there must be someone or something in your life that you're allergic to, and it wouldn't be about the environment. So it's normally one person, the closest person to us, that's upsetting us, and our body reacts in something. Now, for me, it was allergies. But he didn't ask those questions. He gave me allergy shots for 3 times a week for the next 5 months. And then the allergies went away. Of course, they went away. And then my face started turning red, and then eventually I had acne, and then I literally had rosacea, breaking out with boils. And I knew that I was out of control. And at 36 years old, when makeup doesn't cover it up, it's pretty embarrassing. So literally I had to quit my corporate job to go on my own journey of saying the body can't be this complicated. So my first cancer dermatologist said, that I had rosacea, deforming, disfiguring disease. But see, it all started with those allergy shots. And so I went down this route of saying, no, I'm not going to take medication. I'm going to learn about my own body, and thinking that I could solve it pretty fast because that's what I was hired for in the business world. But thank God I had that background, because if I wouldn't have had that background, I probably wouldn't be here this day, because I was trained in solving all kinds of different corporate problems and business problems, employee problems. But here I was, and I went on a journey for the next 6 years, and I self-healed, and the rosacea went away, the capillaries healed, and my eyesight came back, because at 42 years old, I was not reading or driving. But I wanted to share that piece that could have been avoided with those allergies if I would understand, just like I want you to understand today, that when we have a health issue, our body's telling our inner story. So I'm going to share some other stories with you. Another lady comes to me that her sister's in town from another state, and she had never had body work done. So at that time, I had a healing center, and so after I healed the rosacea, I dedicated my life to sharing with people and helping people heal. So I've studied a lot and know a lot in the natural field. So this lady had never had a massage. She had never been on a massage table, but she understood massage. But I wasn't doing massage at the time. I was doing craniosacral work. That's working with the head and the spine and seeing how trauma is held in the body, because that's one of the modalities that really helped me. You see, we can have enough stress on the body that the body just starts shutting down and the skeletal starts shutting down is one of the signs, and we're not even aware of it. I worked right over the top of that for many, many years. So anyway, this lady comes in and I'm starting to work on her feet and just teaching her how to breathe with me and really relax. And while I'm working on her feet, I hear the angels in my head say, ask her about her right hand. So she hadn't indicated anything about her right hand as she came in. And so I asked her, I said, now I'm not working on her feet. I says, so is something going on with your right hand? And she was like, yes, how did you know? And I said, I don't know. Sometimes I'm 100% right and sometimes I'm just 100% wrong. So I said, so what happened to your right hand? And she said, I have 3 numb fingers. But it goes back to when she was like 10, 11, 12 years old. Her hand got slammed in a door, and her uncle, I believe, and her parents for sure took her to the hospital because it was that bad. But while they were driving in the car, she was crying because her hands had got crushed. And as she was crying, they were shaming her. It can't be that bad now. Get over it. We're taking care of it. We're taking you to the hospital, whatever they told her. But she shut down from crying. And so now she's 50 years old and she's on my table and she's telling me this story. You see, when we're told, don't cry, don't feel, don't be real, it's part of our natural healing process. So when she got shut down, all the trauma got locked in those fingers. So I'm working on her and I was like, this is gonna be fun. Let's see if we can solve this. And sure enough, as I worked on her, that first session, feelings came back in her fingers and we released the trauma that was behind it. So in each case, there's a story. And when we can go back and trace the story, many times the health issue will go back to the nothingness it came from. Now I'm going to tell you about a 14-year-old. I'm on a radio station here in Houston, Texas, and this family hears about me. And this 14-year-old has scoliosis, and she's been in our children's hospital. Scoliosis is an S-curve of the spine, but she had an extreme case at 14 years old, where they were actually doing a fundraising for her to fit her in a brace. Now, here was her condition. She couldn't carry her books, she couldn't bend, she couldn't twist. There were just many things that she couldn't do. And so at night, they would actually prop up pillows around her just to help her body. So I'm doing craniosacral on her. I've got her on my massage table, and I'm wondering what's happened to this child. Because normally the body, remember, one day we don't have it, and the next day we have it. So what's in between there, right? What happened that the body would break down? So as I'm teaching her and working with her, all of a sudden in 6 months, this problem goes away. She can bend, she can twist, she can lift her books, she can go into gym. And anyway, I followed this family for 2 years, but soon after she healed, thank God she healed, and thank God she was in my life, that she got in one of those dancing routines with young gals that go out and dance and do the same stage things in fun ways. And I followed her for 2 years, and I went to her dance groups and was just so blessed that she could heal. So in her life, there was many traumas where she just got taken inside of herself. She just got internally traumatized from the events that were going on in the family system. And her way of doing it was kind of like a turtle that pulls its head in. She just went inside like this here, but all of a sudden, like my story, I know what that feels like when you just have so much pressure going on that even your skeletal just feels like you're kind of going around numb. Maybe you know what that feeling is. But anyway, she healed. So the next story I'm going to tell you about is a man that came to me with Lou Gehrig's disease. And Lou Gehrig's disease is really a kind of a deadly disease. But he was referred to me, and I said, so Gary, what was life like 3 months ago? So I always trace it back. No, Georgie. So his specialty was on doing fine cabinetry, always in the woodworking business. No, I've got 2 children and a wife, and I'm young, and life has been really good, and now I've got this disease. And I was like, no, it didn't just happen. Something happened to you. So I asked him like 5 times, what happened before all this started? And he could not remember anything that just kind of happened to him. And then I said, also, let's go back a year. What happened a year ago? So a year ago, he had been asked to remodel a historical house, an older house, like an antique house. And they had a deadline. So he had to do it like in 5 months. And part of that was taking and sanding the walls and doing whatever he was doing. And I said, Gary, I think you got lead poisoning from the paint. And he was like, you think so? So I said, tell me about how things were when you were doing all this sanding. And he said, well, I couldn't wear a mask because it was so much powder coming at him with this dust that he said it would get on my skin and it would get in my nose and it would get in the mask and the mask couldn't hold it. So I would just take the mask off and just keep working. And I said, you shut down your immune system. So let's go back to basics. Number one, your skin is your largest organ. So if you put enough dust and dirt and whatever around your body and you can't breathe, something's going to break down. So I said, call your doctor. I think you have lead poisoning, and I'm just guessing. I'm not a physician, but something's happened to you. And so he called his doctor right in front of me, and the doctor said, oh, we hadn't looked at that. And sure enough, when he went in, he had lead poisoning, but it was too late. Soon after that, he really did die. And it could have been prevented if I had known earlier, right? When all this was going down, we probably could have prevented it. So prevention is what I'm all about. I love nature's way because right now, today, you can ask your body. Say you had something going on. You can ask your body. So if my body could talk, what would it tell me? So it has to be different than head language because our head goes into logic. Oh, Georgie, this is my diagnosis, and I've had this for so long, and I deny it, and I cope with it, and coping is a dealing. So we go back in your history, and we talk to the body. So remember, there was a master teacher 2,000 years ago. His name was Jesus. He taught in parables, and here's my version of parables. So he gathered people around him, and he wrote in the sand for people to get it. Well, we have a parable also going on, but it's from the neck down. And we don't know how to understand this language of the body. So the normal route is just to wait until the body breaks down, then go to a doctor. And I love doctors because we complement each other. But a doctor is skilled in an isolated body part. The isolated body part is always the effect, just like my allergies or just like the rosacea was the effect, but it was a deeper story going on inside of me. So if we can find the cause, a lot of times the effect, a lot of times, folks, 80% of the problems many times just disappear once we look at the cause because it's an emotional cause and we don't have to be afraid of our emotions. That's the good news. That's the good news. So there's one story after another of how this works. So let's go back to trial and error remedies. We get something going on. We don't know how to dialogue with our body. And I do guided imagery where I just take you inside to that parable that's going on and we dialogue with it and we get honest answers of how to solve it, how it got created, what it's longing for, what it really wants. So today, let's just take a look at trial and error remedies. So we get something and then we try this and that doesn't work. And then somebody else says, hey, try that. And we try that, that doesn't work. And we keep on this journey. But in the meantime, we're not getting results. So when I had the rosacea, I tried lots of remedies over 6 years and nothing was working. I progressively got worse until I couldn't read or drive by the time I was 42 and my face had deformed. So trial and error remedies left me feeling helpless, hopeless. And so when you're feeling like you can't trust your body, what does it need? See, we're trying to solve it from the head up. We're trying to just desperately find answers. But the answer is within us, and we've heard that, The kingdom of God is within. We've heard that story, but we don't know how to relate to that story. So when you go inside and you ask the body questions, so I do guided imagery, and I teach you how to work with that parable. What is the body longing for? Where did you go from being in that pure intelligence to being blocked? So I attract like 3 types of women. I attract some men also, because it works the same way. It doesn't matter. So one is they have a health issue and they want to solve it. And they also want to learn what I know so that they can prevent in the future and share it with others. And then there's the one that comes to me that has a health issue and they're wanting to dialogue with it and find out, so what is the solution, right? Because trial and error doesn't work, but nature does work. And then there's the person that says, I want something bigger and better in my life than suffering. I want joy in my life. I want to live my passion, and I'm not there. I feel really stuck. And so no matter where your situation is today, we know that trial and error doesn't work. We know that nature by design, just like gravity, always works. And that we can trust nature because nature is intelligent. And we have a parable going on inside, and we don't understand the parable. But today, let's just take a breath. I'm Georgie Holbrook, and I have a free 15-minute session with you that I can teach you whatever's going on in life. Maybe you got a goal, a dream, something you want to create and you just don't know how to do that. Maybe you've got a health issue, whatever it is, for 15 minutes free. The price is right, folks. Sign up, get in contact with me, and I would just be delighted to share with you and add you to my community. Because see, by myself, I can't do it by myself. But if we don't start now, when are we going to start? When are we going to start to learn prevention rather than take in all the different health issues that are coming down the pipe? And that's not fun. So sign up and let's take a breath together now. So from my heart to yours, I want you to feel the heart behind me. I have 5 books, and I just want to teach you what I've learned over 30 years working with hundreds of people. I've been in hospitals, universities, colleges. I've been one-on-one with people for all 30 years. I've been working one-on-one with people. So I'm available to teach you nature's way. It's an ancient wisdom that's been there. Your grandparents' grandparents knew about natural remedies, but somehow got lost along the way, right? And we're exhausted and we're stressed out. So from my heart to yours, sign up today. I look forward to talking with you. And together, we really can make a difference in this world and change the world around us. If not now, when? Remember, something greater than you and I beats our heart and does have the answers. Thank you for joining me. I look forward to talking to you in person. Bye for now.